Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Julian. I'm the author of 4 novels and also an avid reader. I just recently finished A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J Maas. It's the 4th book in the ACOFAS series, and I'm going to start off by saying there are spoilers in this video. I have no structure to this review. I'm just going to dive in and give you my raw thoughts. And yeah, we're going to jump into it. So if you haven't read the book yet, make sure to pause the video, go back, read the book, maybe all 4 books, because obviously don't read this 4th book without reading the ones before it, then come back to this review. All right, jumping in. Right off the bat, I will say that Sarah J Maas stays true to her writing style. Like her prose, the way that she writes in general, I think is very articulate. She does a great job of breaking down lore by showing and not telling. So, you know, it's not like long paragraphs of it being super descriptive of how the world looks and how and where the people come from and their powers and how everything works. There's a lot more of following characters through hardship or intimacy and learning more about their world through actions, which is great. And I think Sarah J Maas does an amazing job of that in all 4 of her books that I've read so far. Now, I feel like this review could almost be summed up as A Court of Frost and Starlight. I feel like should be book 3.5 as opposed to being book 4. ACOFAS, I got an idea of the lore and Feyre and her family's dynamic. I got exposed to Prythian as well through her relationship with Tamlin and then eventually Rhysand. But in A Court of Thorns and Roses, that first book, there was a lot of action. Like there was a lot of high intensity moments. There's a treaty that we're introduced to. There's this whole new world of Prythian and Tamlin's relationship with Amarantha, and we're introduced to fairy traditions and a lot of lore, and we have a villain. It's Amarantha. Then we get into the second book, A Court of Mist and Fury, and we start to see this relationship sort of evolve between Rhysand and Feyre. We start to see a lot more of sort of the sisters again, and we start to see this pending war with Hybern start to come to fruition while learning about all of this fairy lore. Then we get to ACOWAR. We get to A Court of Wings and Ruin, which was personally my favorite. We got a lot more of my boy Lucian, but most importantly, we got to see not only Feyre's dynamic with Rhysand evolve, but we got to see the politics, we got to see action, and we got to see intimacy sort of working like this evenly balanced wheel that just kept spinning. We were getting intimacy, we were getting war, we were getting politics, then we were getting intimacy, war, politics, intimacy, war, politics. We were getting it all in that book, and then I felt like my expectations going into A Court of Frost and Starlight were high because we were coming off of a high. ACOWAR was a very well written, crazy book. It was a big book too, so I guess I will say that when I picked up A Court of Frost and Starlight, I was like, okay, I'm not used to this length. I typically go into books blind, which probably makes a lot of sense for you now that you're watching this review. You're probably thinking, Julian, wasn't it obvious that A Court of Frost and Starlight was going to obviously not compare to A Court of Wings and Ruin? Because look at the size. I don't know, maybe read the back of the book. Actually, I never read the back of the book. Okay. All right. I think it's summed up right here. Bridging the events of A Court of Wings and Ruin with the later books in the series. That's what it feels like. This feels like book 3.5 as opposed to it being book 4 of the ACOTAR series. So I think once I had that understanding, maybe like halfway through the book, I realized this is like a Christmas special, a fairy tale all, a rom-com of some sorts. Everything sort of started to come together. And I was like, okay, this is a lighthearted read. Now, if you watch my previous reviews, you know I love high stakes. I love very high intensity moments when a lot is on the line. And I felt like not a lot was on the line in this book. It seemed very lighthearted. I think this book seemed like it was about closure, which is interesting because the next book is A Court of Silver Flames, which I hear is Nessa's perspective. My initial thoughts when diving into the characters and sort of how they interacted with one another in this book and the overall plot, I guess, I see them as one big happy family. There's a lot of this reinstilling of what happened in the first 3 books which was done very well, sort of bringing a lot of the things we might have forgotten about back to the front of our mind as the series continues. So there's a lot of reinstilling of lore and like overall plot of the series. What was really cool is that we got different point of views. So, you know, we got to see what Morgan was thinking. We got to see what we got what Cassian was thinking, and we got to see what these characters were like when Farah wasn't in the room, because obviously we're limited when we have first person POV. It was really cool to sort of get inside of Rhysand's head again, to get inside of Morgan's head, maybe a little bit of Amren. We got to see Azriel and where his heart may lie, because maybe it's not necessarily with Morgan anymore, because, you know, I don't know, maybe something will happen with Elaine. If you watch my previous reviews, you know that I really liked book 1 Rhysand, where he just kept his hands in his pockets and he was just dragging this dark claw over people's brains and minds and manipulating them. Loved that side of Rhysand. He's definitely softened as the books have gone on. I think Farah's sort of had that effect on him, which is fine, because obviously he doesn't need to be this hardcore, secretive, trauma absorbing creature. Like, now he can be a little more of a partner. So yeah, it was nice to see their relationship sort of evolve as they, I think, prepared to become a mother and father to a fairy that will probably be very powerful. I think the most exciting part of this book to me was when Rhysand confronted Tamlin. Subtle details like how Tamlin had no guards at his estate. The doors were open. Like, there was nothing really shielding him. And it was almost like an act of, he was inviting self-harm as this consequence of the poor decisions he's made in the past and kind of how he's internalizing it. It was nice to see Tamlin and Rhysand sort of have to work through and the past confrontations that they've had to bury up until this point for the sake of going to war against Highburn. Other than that, I really didn't get much from this book. There was a lot of moments of closure, like I said, where, you know, Morgan is confronting her father and you know, everyone's getting gifts for each other. I guess this is why I sort of prolonged the review. I don't have much to say about it, as much as I did at least about the other books. In all, I was on the edge of my seat when Tamlin and Rhysand were talking. It was nice to see Rhysand take the high road. Curious to see how the relationship develops between Cassian and Nesta. Also between Azriel and Elaine. I love Lucian, but, you know, I guess he doesn't get the girl in the end. So be it. He'll figure it out. Great to see Farah painting again. That was nice. But yeah, you can sort of see that I wasn't super invested. I hear that this book sort of also serves a larger purpose of transitioning us into Nesta's POV. So I genuinely hope that the next book, A Court of Silver Flames, is a bit more exciting. Yeah, I guess we'll see. I was gonna say I hope you enjoyed this review, but I mean, there's not much to enjoy in this review. Honestly, just let me know in the comments if you agree. Is this anyone's favorite book in the series? It's not a bad book. Look, I'm not saying that it's not a great book. It's a great book. I think it's designed to give us closure, which I definitely got. And I'm curious to see where Sarah J Maas takes the series, especially because I believe there's another book she's going to be releasing soon. I haven't done a lot of research. I literally pick up these books and just start reading them. Don't even read the back. So yeah, so I'm enjoying this series. Wasn't too crazy about this last book, although I do understand its purpose. I do believe that it was written very well. And I'm curious to see where Sarah J Maas takes the series next. If you got this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more book content from me. Also, if you're looking for a current read, I'm the author of 4 standalone novels that I obviously highly recommend reading. The first is Night After Night, the story about an up-and-coming nightclub promoter who gets exposed to the dark side of the Hollywood party scene. The second book I wrote is a rock star romance about 2 songwriters who fall in love through the songs they write together. The third book is a psych thriller called Look Away. It's a story about a TV game show about people who are manipulated into taking their own lives on television. And my fourth and most recent release is called Someday Soon. It's a heartbreaking romance about 2 heartbroken strangers who get stranded on an island with nothing but their past to go through and trauma to make peace with in order to survive. Thanks for watching.